Top U.S. lawmakers on the Senate Intelligence Committee vow to expose any Russian interference with America's democracy. Thousands of camels die in the Horn of Africa due to severe drought, dealing a major blow to communities that depend on them for milk and transportation. And in our health report, we discuss gender equality and empowerment of women. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. First to East Africa, the humanitarian crisis in Somalia due to a severe drought is not just taking a heavy toll on the nation's population. It's also taxing the region's animals and livestock. Camels are used to desert conditions, but even these hardy animals are finding it difficult to survive. Thousands have died this year, dealing a major blow to herders who depend on camels for transportation, for milk, for meat, and as pack animals. VOA's Abdulaziz Osman spoke with some of the herders in the breakaway Somaliland capital, Hargeisa.
Daoud Barud Chama, a camel herder in Somaliland Stockdale region, says his family has lost more than 100 camels in the last few months because of the drought. Chama said he was forced to slaughter 2 camels minutes before meeting with VOA because the animals had become too weak to move.
These camels became weak and thin, and because of the food shortage and starvation, they could not stand up. So we tried to lift them to make them stand up. But when that failed, I slaughtered them to ease their pain of dying.
Chama said these camels have not had anything to eat or drink for months.
We have not seen such a drought. Even the older men are saying they have never heard of anything like this, let alone me.
Officials in Somaliland's eastern region say herders have lost more than 80% of their livestock in the current drought. Roble Chama, who is 13, said his family lost the only camel they had.
I have seen when the camel was dying, and I felt so sad. The camel's name was Kadawe and was 9 years old.
The rainy season has failed in eastern Somaliland for 3 consecutive years. Somali pastoralists say they are scared they will lose their entire herds. They said they will too die unless they get a substantial amount of assistance in the next few months. Abdulaziz Osman, VOA News, Hargeisa.
Thanks, Abdulaziz. Now, Africans are among the most rapidly growing immigrant populations in the United States. As they become more integrated into the social fabric of America, their participation in day-to-day issues becomes more important. Africa 54's Paul Ndihom recently met with Pamela Anchang. She's a Cameroonian publisher and immigration activist in Los Angeles to discuss the situation.
You can change that, Donald Trump. You can give us a seat at the table and hear our stories. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? He can hear our stories. Talk to us.
Pamela Anchang came to the United States from Cameroon nearly 20 years ago with the dream to earn a living and do better for herself. Today, she's become an icon in LA, California, as a publisher of the Immigrant magazine, immigration activist, and an outspoken critic of U.S. President Donald Trump's signature campaign promise to crack down on illegal immigration.
And now we have a leadership, we have an administration that seems to forget that and wants to penalize immigrants. Now, I'm not advocating illegal immigration. However, I think that we should have a comprehensive immigration reform that will legalize everybody.
Ms. Anchang is the editor of the Immigrant magazine, a 1,000 California-based news and features website that prides itself as the voice of the immigrants in America.
Immigrant magazine was born. I decided that it will be a platform that will be a voice for all immigrants.
She has become the voice of the voiceless and made friends across the diverse spectrum of immigrant communities in the Los Angeles area.
I am an immigrant from southern Cameroon, somewhere in Central West Africa. And I'm standing here with my brothers and sisters who are all immigrants to say we are not criminals.
I am an American. I'm a naturalized citizen. But I cannot sit and be quiet when I know that the difference between someone who's undocumented and someone who's illegal is just a matter of that paper. But you know what? The intention and the reason why we are all here remains the same.
By becoming more involved in the anti-immigration campaign, naturalized citizens like Pamela play a greater role in determining the fate of issues that impact other immigrants.
At the time when I started, the conversation about immigration was not strong, the voice wasn't strong as it is today. Now more than ever, we see the value of that immigrant story, that immigrant experience, that advocacy. Immigrants are feeling that this is a land of opportunity. Okay, and now we have a president who seems to forget that this country's foundation was immigrants. Okay.
Pamela Anchang and her husband Charles Anchang started the Immigrant Magazine project as a printer magazine in 2004 because they saw a gap in how the dominant media outlets portrayed immigrants in the United States. Over the years, the magazine has adopted a more political tone as Anchang uses it as a platform to call for an overhaul of the country's immigration laws and a path to citizenship for the millions of immigrants here without permission.
So we will be out there, and we have been out there. I am out there, and my vision and my duty is to speak up on their behalf.
Her success as a publisher and celebrity immigration activist has not come easy. But despite the challenges, she's even more determined to keep pushing the envelope, especially in light of President Trump's administration travel ban targeting immigrants, refugees, and several majority Muslim countries. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Well, U.S. First Lady Melania Trump recognized at the State Department on Wednesday 12 women from around the world for the International Women of Courage Award. This year's Women of Courage Award winners include Rebecca Kabuho for promoting democracy in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Major Aishatou Isaka Osman, an army officer in Niger who integrates gender perspectives into peacekeeping efforts in Africa, and Malipoho Malefe, who fights gender-based violence in Botswana.
Gender-based violence is well discussed. It is a problem for us in Botswana because we are a small nation. We are about 2.5 million, but the rise in women abuse is so high that almost 67% of women in Botswana, or even more, have been violated. And again, the statistics show that in every 3 women, 1 has been violated. That's just how big it is. But the government is doing whatever they can to put laws in place to help eradicate the impact of violence.
Well, the U.S. has honored more than 100 women from over 60 nations since the International Women of Courage Award was created in 2007. Well, the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee hearing on Russian interference in America's 2016 presidential election and any possible collusion by President Donald Trump's inner circle is underway on Capitol Hill. The chairman and top Democrat on the committee both say Russia's meddling in American democracy will be exposed. Here's VOA's Michael Bowman.
This investigation scope will go wherever the intelligence leads it.
We will get to the bottom of this.
A show of bipartisan unity on an investigation of monumental proportions with a multitude of documents to review and interviews to conduct, including with Trump advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner, who volunteered to speak.
The committee will conduct an interview with Mr. Kushner when the committee decides that it's time for us to set a date.
Neither the chairman nor the ranking Democrat revealed any conclusions reached so far, except Russia's aims.
Vladimir Putin's goal is a weaker United States, weaker economically, weaker globally, and that should be of concern to all Americans, regardless of party affiliation.
Until now, the House Intelligence Committee had taken the lead in the Russia probe. But that committee canceled open hearings this week amid a firestorm surrounding its chairman, Republican Devin Nunes, who personally briefed Donald Trump on classified material he had yet to share with the committee. With the House panel seemingly in disarray, its Senate counterpart is now in the spotlight. Burr said he cast a ballot for Trump last November.
I'll admit that I voted for him.
But he denied party loyalty would color his work. Even so, a growing number of Democrats say the full truth may never come to light in Republican-controlled legislative committees.
I believe we also should be open to an independent, nonpartisan commission designed solely to investigate what happened. We cannot allow political pressure or unsubstantiated distractions to get in the way of simply following the facts.
The White House has complained of a smear campaign against the president's team, but acknowledged the need for investigations to proceed.
We want this over as much as I think some of you, but we recognize that there's a process that has to take place.
That process could resound far beyond Washington. Burr said Russia is, quote, actively involved in upcoming elections in France. Michael Bowman, VOA News, the Capitol.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 on the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Well, now coming up, the United Nations works to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
Saru Awera Wayataka sketches designs for the functional and educational children's products she makes inside her small factory in Kenya. She's the founder of Fun Kids Group, and her products are in high demand in East Africa, but expanding the business is a challenge because skilled labor is hard to find.
We should be working 24 hours a day, but the team is so tired. We have machines that sit idle because we don't have skilled people.
Kenya imports 90% of its products. Saru says that's a tragedy. She believes investing in children and helping women and girls in particular can make a difference.
We must start the industrial revolution. We really must be so serious about this, and that's why the education sector must be part of this conversation.
Saru Wayataka also develops learning programs for children and actively campaigns to various organizations to help inspire more Kenyans to be more productive. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Well, it's time now for Health Reports, and joining us now is Africa 54 Health correspondent Lino Madu with an in-depth look at gender-based violence. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent. The United Nations defines violence against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or mental harm or suffering to women. According to the World Health Organization, around 35% of women worldwide have experienced GBV or gender-based violence, and as many as 38% of murders of women are committed by an intimate partner. Women and girls victims of gender-based violence suffer consequences on their sexual and reproductive health, among other things, including forced and unwanted pregnancies, unsafe abortions, and higher risks of sexually transmitted infections and HIV. The UN says as a result of gender discrimination and their lower socioeconomic status, women have fewer options and less resources at their disposal to avoid or escape abusive situations and to seek justice. In West Africa, the United Nations Populations Fund is actively working in Mali to raise awareness against gender-based violence and help women and girls victims of violence.
Ako ka be jefe ngama akasa mankene bi akoko ti be alima tara de wele kana adenga wuli ka ba musokoro adem so mina na kila fe na bra chefe kana ndoko muso fana fu sala be sokoro ko fana wele kana j'étais ni langolo kundalendo akuma ka fo nyana ni ntije aka rapport ke fe ngan juta ka wuli ka ba ka sokono o ayenne ni o yentoro snaka sange tige ka bon kuna ndalendo ki ken ka kambu ko foka joli jigi nyana akera 1h du matin dengen kama tono tanti bi bo abitami dugo klalendo ko ale tado ko ne ka bodro dengen ko tanti tibo e de bebo non o sera ka labo atara shi salon kono.
With regards to gender-based violence, UNFPA this year has developed a strategy in support of the Ministry of Gender to fight against gender-based violence, to really overcome all of the negative aspects regarding gender-based violence, including what religion and traditional leaders say about that.
And that was an excerpt of a UNFPA documentary produced where one of the victims chose to hide her identity. The UN Sustainable Development Goal 5 calls for gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls with one specific target, quote, eliminate all forms of violence against all women and girls in public and private spheres, including trafficking, sexual and other types of exploitation. And joining us now for more on the subject is VOA contributor Khalil Gay and VOA Bambara reporter Khadiatou Traore. Thank you both for coming on the program.
Thank you, Lino. Thank you for having me.
So let me start with you, Khalil. The excerpt of the documentary we saw was actually produced by you for UNFPA. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about the type of challenges you came across in terms of having women and men speak about this issue?
Actually, you know, when I was shooting the documentary, women were much more open to face my camera and talk to me. Okay. Some women even came to my hotel and tried to reach me to see me for interviews. But men were reluctant to talking to me. And what I see, based on the actions led by UNFPA and the UN in the country, different bodies of the UN in the country, the revolution, the GBV revolution in Mali will be achieved by women.
And Khadiatou, you are originally from Mali. Now, observers say gender-based violence is an issue in Mali and many other countries. What can you tell us in terms of what is happening and your take on this subject?
What I can say about this is Mali, before we have no Mali, is a society based on traditional and religious belief. And it's a patriarchal society with many stereotypes and prejudice towards women. The image of a real woman in Mali is that submissive, yes. One of the household and devoted to her children. Mm. When you go over this, it cannot work with a society. But to talk about all of this, we have facing some facts and issues, which is about GBV, yes. Which is first statistic of child abuse are unreliable, okay. And reported case of abuse are rare.
So as Khadiatou mentioned, reported cases of abuse are rare. So what did you come across? Did you want to add anything to that?
Actually, gender-based violence is being seen today by Malians, especially by women and girls, as a human rights violation and also as a public health issue. So both aspects of the case make people be more interested in fighting it. But the problem is, in Mali, which, as Hadi said, traditional society, people have a tendency to put together Islam and tradition. You know, I succeeded to corner some ministers and ask them some questions, economy, health, youth. And you know what they told me? Especially the Minister of Gender, she told me, when tradition meets religion, things get crazy.
It's difficult, really. Because when it comes to FGM, which is one of the gender-based violence that is being really addressed by the UN, people talk about it as if it is a religious practice. But in fact, Khadi, it is not a religious practice.
It is not a religious practice because the traditional was meet religious fact. And some people, you know, religious people, because Mali is a country with something like 95 and
at least
98,
95%
yeah, at least 95%
of women have undergone FGM.
Exactly. And that's coming to the very, very, very problem for the women because I think 10 days ago when Atete was on power and I'm sorry, he would like to launch his family code.
That's the president of Mali.
Exactly.
Atete,
so it's transformed that to the very, very problem for the religious because the religious association call population to not follow that law because the law mentions the text, all of the disposition of the law mention the woman turn and going to be the chief of the family.
Okay, so we're talking about
misperception.
Yes. All right. And Khalil, you wanted to...
You know, and before the crisis in Mali, there was a certain law, or anyway, a tacit law that accepted that women could be married only after 18 years. But now, after the crisis, I think that's what she wanted to say. Now it's back, the country went back to 16 years.
So very quickly, because we're running out of time, Madam Yagibu said in her bite, she talked about the importance of involving religious and traditional leaders. Let me have your comment on that very quickly, because we barely have a few seconds. Khalil, how will that make an impact? Very quickly.
No, Khalil, you talk about the Khalil.
Khalil, go ahead.
Okay, the impact is very, very, very weak, actually, because religious leaders, they can join meetings organized by the UN, but they do not act accordingly. They don't go on TV and implement what they don't talk openly to people. That's one problem. So they got some bucket results, but you know.
I think in Mali there are some laws, but the applicability is
implementing the law.
Implementing the law and too much facts and issue exist, but they cannot.
It's challenging. It's challenging. Okay, Khadi and Khalil, thank you both for joining us. And that was Khalil Gay. He's a VOA contributor, and Khadiatou Traoré, she's VOA reporter with the Bambara service. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch for more, find me on Twitter at Linor Moudou. Vincent?
Well, thank you very much, Lino. And I'll be sure to watch Lino Moudou's health report every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. A Nigerian nutritionist inspires Africans in the diaspora on healthy eating habits. We'll be right back.
Replacing both Minister and Deputy Minister of Finance.
Well, in the U.S. and Africa, communities of African descendants are experiencing a high rate of diet-related disorders like diabetes and heart disease. A Nigerian American in Washington wants to change that. Nutritionist Tambra Ray Stevenson is on a mission to inspire young girls and women in the diaspora And in Africa, his viewer is Mary Alice Salinas.
Tamara Ray Stevenson redefines the kitchen as a healing space.
I am de-stressing as I'm massaging. This is my stress ball, ladies, okay? Me massaging the kale, all that.
Last year, she launched a nonprofit called WANDA, which stands for Women Advancing Nutrition, Dietetics, and Agriculture. Based in Washington and Nigeria, WANDA focuses on developing the next generation of women and girls as leaders in nutrition.
My daughter, who was going to school, and the teacher didn't feel the need to have healthy food in the classroom, and I thought the only way to combat this is to have an army of women who care about creating a healthier generation, and it starts with us as women to take back our communities.
She also sees a huge food challenge. The UN has declared a decade of action on nutrition, and the World Health Organization has estimated 4 million people in Africa will die of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and heart attacks by 2020.
And without any intervention, we will find ourselves in the same crises that we have with AIDS, malaria, and TB.
The nutritionist founded Native Soul Kitchen in Washington and partners with local groups in African countries.
I focus mainly on providing nutrition education, cooking demos, lectures in America and abroad, and it was from doing that that really sparked me of seeing the need that more girls across the world, like in Africa, need to know that nutrition is a career. It's not just about good nutrition in our bodies.
Stevenson shares her discoveries of African heritage foods like hibiscus flowers that are used to flavor drinks and are believed to benefit heart health.
Food is a powerful tool. It can either heal us or it can kill us. Food also is identity. We see ourselves as a reflection of what we eat on our plates, in our bowls, in our hands.
Seeing a lack of children characters in nutritional literature, Stevenson created Little Wanda and recently released a bilingual children's book series, Where's Wanda? Little Wanda is an engaging role model for girls tackling food and health issues in the community with the help of Big Wanda, a food entrepreneur.
It's really important to know it is a community effort to support the Little Wanda in our communities to become like the next Big Wanda, and that's what this story does.
The support seems to be coming. Nikki Wood attended the recent event with her 2 young children.
Another way we can support other women who are doing great work, especially trying to educate our children and as well as our communities on better eating and health from a global perspective. So just excited about it.
Stevenson believes her effort will help make those of African descent and the world much healthier. For producer June So, Mary Alice Salinas, VOA News, Washington.
And that's it. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Most people enjoy listening to music. But is this expression actually about songs and tunes?
Music to my ears.
Jonathan, I cannot believe we have to work over the weekend.
Did you not hear the news? The meeting for the project got canceled. No work this weekend after all.
Awesome! That is music to